Hi guys, this is Kaboom, and today I'm going to be discussing this new book I read, The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, The Shadow Rising, Fires of Heaven, Lord of Chaos, Cronus Heart, Path of Daggers, Winter's Heart, Crossroads of Twilight, Knife of Dreams, The Gathering Storm, The Towers of Midnight, A Memory of Light. Let's talk about it. The Wheel of Time is quite a big series. It's big. There's so many books. These are all the books in the Wheel of Time. They're all right here, and they're all very, very good, or at least most of them. Well, these books, I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for the Wheel of Time, telling you if it's worth it. And yeah, it's going to be kind of a why you should read, but mainly just a spoiler-free review of all of the books, of a lot of them. Not so much for the slog, but from Fires of Heaven, Shadow Rising, Lord of Chaos, Knife of Dreams, Gathering Storm, Towers of Midnight, and Memory of Light. I have spoiler reviews, so if you want to talk spoilers with me, go watch those reviews, and I will be talking spoilers. But now I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on the series as a whole, because it's hard to review books in a series but not review the whole story. So I'm going to really talk about it knowing all I know now, talking about all these books. This is not going to be a long review, but this is just going to be what I've gotten from the Wheel of Time, and I've definitely gotten a lot. While these book series is very long and very ambitious, it is not something I think that you should be intimidated by. This is a big, big book series, but all of these books are great. There's a lot of characters, but it's never too hard to read. I understood it just fine. Just take it slowly if you really don't understand it, but I really disagree with the statement that it's hard to read, because it is long, but it's long and intimidating, but it is not hard. I do not think you should I should be intimidated by the series, so I don't want to read it. I want to read something easier. I do not think that should be the case, because this has some great characters, some great plot, some killer world building, and I really don't want you to miss out on that. My favorite part of this book was the world building. There's a lot of favorite parts of the book, but the world building was a great part of it. Robert Jordan spent so much time into the world building, and it's really, really just crazy what world he's built. Looking through the Wheel of Time companion, which I have up there, it's so it shows you how really big the world is, and it's almost like you forget how big, mainly because he has this much room to work. When an artist has this much room to work, this big of a canvas, 14 massive books of canvas, he can do quite a bit, and Robert Jordan does do quite a bit in this book, and these book series, and I really, really enjoyed it. The Chosen One trope, the point of the series is, what if someone just tapped you on the back and said, you could either save the world or destroy it? That's a pretty cool concept. It certainly goes way beyond this concept, and it really, really just knocks it out of the park. This is the craziest concept in the world, and it really, really pays off at the end of it. Like, from start to end, the series was very, very perfect with the Chosen One trope and all the fun it's had. This series has been a really, really, really impactful point in my life, and I think it's really changed my life, because now I relate myself to all of these characters, and I relate myself to the experiences, and this events are likely happen to me. Again, the events throughout the series, because it leads up to one final battle. It's not like a Dresden Files where there's something each book and the characters are doing something new. It's one main story. That's why people stress about it being so long. They're a longer series. It's one main conflict, and there's a lot of side conflicts. And I could say there are some good middle points. One of my favorite middle points is Lord of Chaos. It was like a middle battle, and this battle was one of the best battles I've ever read, aside from maybe the last battle, which all happened in A Memory of Light. Those were some of the best books. Some of them are long. Those two are almost 1,000 pages, and it's very, very cool to see. And yeah, that middle battle, Knife of Dreams, was one of the best all-around books of the Wheel of Time, because some of them have a bad beginning, or this one has a good ending, but it's really not doing anything much. but like I think this one is the best all around, best ending, middle, and start to any Wheel of Time book, which I'm very, very happy about. Just like not like the best ending in general, it's just the best ending, middle, and start. Like if I had to rate Wheel of Time as a book, this would be my all around favorite book from the Wheel of Time. And if I had to like rate my least favorite, I would have to put Path of Daggers or Crossroads of Twilight. I don't know which one, but one of these two would definitely be my least favorite because really I'm going to use this time to share some criticism. In the middle, nothing really happened that's important. Or let's say something did happen that was important, but it was spread out through, like so thinly spread, I didn't like get to enjoy it. I think these books should have been combined. There should have been an added plot line. There's one plot line in this series, these right here, which I wouldn't have done, which was at least, like, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a plot line that went on for way too long, and those were in those books, and it kind of got me bothered a little bit. But that's just some criticism I have because it's not a perfect series. People always talk about Robert Jordan's writing style as a con for this series. It's descriptive, yes, but you really get used to it and you really learn to love it. I've said recently that Robert Jordan has my favorite prose ever, which starts, I'm like, you know what? Like, what happened? But I really, really do love his prose because they're descriptive. And yeah, I love it because it's descriptive. A lot of people don't like it because they're just so long and so boring. But I really learned to paint a picture. Like, he helps me really paint a picture of what's going on, which made the series so much more immersive for me. I felt like I was really there. And yeah, some of my favorite characters were Avienda and Loyal and, again, Perrin, and just some of the best characters. Like, some of these characters, while it wasn't the best character building, I've spent so much time with them, they still mean so much to me. So I like some of these characters, like Matt. I didn't even know how much I loved Matt until the very end of the series, and then towards the ending I was like, no, like, don't let him leave me. But I think The Great Hunt is where this series really kicked into gear. It's a very solid first book, but there's a lot of series with solid first books, and like I didn't see where the story was going after book one. Book two, the story kicked it into gear, and it really, really made me love the series. Again, if you watch my first review, my initial reaction to this, a little time for either, I was like, it was good. I didn't love it too much, but it was good. It was like, I thought I enjoyed it. And then I read this book, and I'm like, I want to finish this series. And this was like, and this is what made me finish the remaining 12 books in the series. And I really thank Great Hunt for that. And it's just a big point in my life is that book, and I remember reading it just very clearly, where I was, what I was doing when I was reading that book. And see, these books are very, very special in my life because I'm just giving you examples of each book. And I don't know if you remember my Fires of Heaven review. I was freaking out. Like, I was literally having just some crazy attack of what I just read on camera. So if you want to watch something pretty funny, I was literally going insane for my Fires of Heaven review. And that's because another battle happened. This is another important battle. And some of this is what Wheel of Time could do. If there's something important that happens in Wheel of Time, I will freak out for it. And see, that's why I'm in it to win it. I'm emotionally involved. This is when I was the most emotionally involved in the Wheel of Time. This is when I got emotionally involved in the Wheel of Time. Just not being like, oh, this is good, but this is when I actually got attached to it, is the Fires of Heaven. And yeah, I really, really loved it. It was such a great book. And yeah, so I'm just going to keep talking. Now, The Gathering Storm, it was another all-around great book. And it's the second best all-around. I love what happened at the end of it. I love Egwene's arc in this book specifically is one of my favorites of all time. And just like, this is like the best Egwene book, and it really, really shouts her out, and it really just makes it really special for everything. And this was the one where Brandon Sanderson took over. I mean, I had read Brandon Sanderson, I've read Brandon Sanderson before, but I was still nervous because people said it was good, but the ending to a series is impactful. I was just a little, you can be a little skeptical, right? And I think he did a great job. I don't think it was better than Robert Jordan, but it really, really made it like Robert Jordan was still there. Sometimes I had a hard time even like just picking which one was Robert and which one was Brandon and which parts they were writing. But I still, it was very good. I can tell sometimes, obviously, in the writing style is a little bit different, but you can tell it was very, like, based off of it. But I still really, really loved Gathering Storm, and that just made me so confident for the end of the series. And that's what made me really just want to finish it off strong, and we did. Next up, I'm going to talk about, Crown of Swords. This is the series, this is the point. Again, this was not a strong book. People say this is where the slog starts. I think it was not a slog book. There was certainly, like, if this is the slog, this is definitely the best book of the slog by far. There's something that happens very interesting in this book. It's very interesting. Like, I think that's the book. This is interesting. Some action, some map chapters were very good. But just interest, I mean, the slog was pretty bad. But this made me confident about the slog, obviously. Some books were worse than others, but this is definitely one of my best books in the slog. And yeah, just the Robert Jordan's style of just how he's like a beast and how he's that big. Like, there's like, world building books, like the World of the Time, and there's this book that's literally has just the old tongue, all of it. And that's just so cool. And yeah, this series really changed my life. I'm just really doing this to give you points and how it has that. And next I'm going to be talking about The Dragon Reborn. I read this back in like February, and I don't remember a lot, but I remember enough. I remember Moraine in this book was a very big part. I remember some battles that were very epic. I remember Rand was a completely different character. Another thing about this series is these characters, if you read the last book and the first book back to back like I did, I reread the Eye of the World and the Memory of Light. I reread Eye of the World, and then I read A Memory of Light right after. These characters can't be more different. Even if I gave you their titles, which I'm not for fear of spoiling you guys, but these characters changed throughout the book while kind of overtly staying themselves in a way. It's really, really genius. These characters changed, and this is one of the last books where the characters are, really innocent, and then we have to start turning, and Rand really turns into a beast, and it's just, I'm not gonna go into specifics, but I really, really, really thought this was an epic idea, and it really just made me scared at some points scared of who they were, all of them. One of my favorite endings was The Towers of Midnight. All of these books had some pretty killer endings, but The Towers of Midnight did something I never thought Wheel of Time would go. And it went there, perfectly. There were some losses in this book. There were some really, really, like, just kick-ass scenes in this book. And there was some really, really perfect, just, like, setup book. It drove it all into a climax, ready for A Memory of Light. And, yeah, that was pretty rad. The Shadow Rising, and a lot of people say this is one of their favorite books in the series. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would say it's very, very excellent, but I've read better Wheel of Time books. I don't know if it's just the time I read it or anything like that, but this was definitely really cool. I love all of it. I love Matt and Rand's storyline in this book. It really sets up a lot for the future. It sets up a lot from the future, and there's some really, really epic scenes in this book, and it's just so perfect. It's really just great. And last but not least, The Eye of the World. And this is where it all started. And this is the book that really just turned it around for me. I was reading a bunch of stuff, but like this is what really got me into reading epic fantasy as a whole. Can't believe the journey started here and the journey's ending here right now. And yeah, this is great. And I can't say much about it, but I think The Eye of the World is when our characters were introduced perfectly, when they were scared, when they were nervous, when they were running, and when they would meet their people who would eventually save them and change their lives. There's action in this book, and there's a lot of just crazy moments, and it's a lot of just farm boy. A lot of this book is like a lot of like Lord of the Rings, but this is where it takes it. This is where it really just take the time to show our characters, and I really, really loved it. As a whole, The Wheel of Time changed my life. Those were some points on all 14 books on what they did for me. And this was a great series. This series was done to perfection. I can't recommend you reading it enough, and I definitely think you should read it. I don't think this is something you should be intimidated by. The world building was very great. I mean, that's probably the hardest part about it, but you get really used to it. It's not like a thing. It just comes to you after a while. And yes, everything about Robert Jordan was very good in this series. Again, the characters, the character building wasn't specifically good, but we just spent so much time with them by default. I love all of them, or mostly all of them. All of the books aren't better than, some of the books are better than others. I'm not saying you'd be like very mad at the series sometimes, which you will. I'm not going to be like lie to you and say you're going to love the series. Like all the books are perfect. They're not. But again, I think it would be worth the journey for you to read, and definitely go read it so you can talk to me about it in the spoiler reviews that are on my channel. So that was my final review for the Wheel of Time. Obviously, I need to do my tier rankings, or why you should read my season 1 review. I have a lot more to do, but this was my series review.